Welcome to the Diversity Connector podcast, where we explore the rich tapestry of human experiences. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the country on which we meet today. I would also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging, and together as we dive into conversations that bridge cultures, challenge stereotypes, and celebrate the unique perspectives each of us brings to the table. Each episode is a journey through stories and insights from a kaleidoscope of voices, each sharing their colorful narrative. Whether you're at home, on the go, or just anywhere in between, you're now part of a community that values understanding, inclusivity, and the beauty of diversity. So plug in your headphones, get comfortable, and let's connect through the power of our shared stories. Welcome, and thank you for joining us on the Diversity Connector podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Diversity Connector. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating guest. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our show. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and share your story with us today.
Thank you so much, Gertrude. It's such a pleasure to be here. My name is Jamie Jacobs, and I'm based here in sunny San Diego, California. So another beautiful place out around the world. And it's an honor to be able to share a little bit of my story. I love these opportunities to connect with people and share kind of a little about how we all get there, because we're all on a journey. I grew up here in San Diego, and after college, kind of fell into the human resources profession. Was really honored to have the opportunity to work with large global organizations, starting in hospitality with Four Seasons Hotels and Resorts, and other companies like Ingersoll, Ingram, and was growing my HR career, and ended up getting an MBA and doing all of those things. Well, and as life happens, right? I was married young, had a daughter young, became a single mom, and so was navigating being a single mom and building a career. Fast forward to today, now I'm a co-founder of a company called Gig Talent. We're really proud to represent some of the best HR consultants and leadership coaches across the US, and even have a presence in Europe. And what inspired us to build Gig Talent was to support others who really want to live the life they want. When I had left the corporate world and was consulting on my own, I had so many mutual friends and colleagues who said, we want to do what you're doing, but we're afraid of sales and business development. And then they'd go on to share how they were not really happy in their careers. And Hema, my co-founder, and I just have this really deep valued belief that we all deserve to have a life we love, and that we should make change, right? That doesn't mean everybody needs to be a consultant, but if consulting was right for you, that was really what inspired us to create Gig Talent, was to create an opportunity to support people for who consulting is the next step on their journey, by being a sales and marketing and administrative partner. And then for our clients, we really offer these really robust solutions with people who are all working in their sweet spots with vetted consultants that are doing what they love. So it's like a win-win for everyone. So that's part of the journey. I mean, that's kind of the high level. And what I love about the conversation that you and I have had, Gertrude, is exploring a little bit about, how you get there, right? I just kind of did a synopsis of 25 years in, 2 minutes or 3 minutes. And it doesn't happen quite like that, right?
It certainly doesn't, Jamie. It doesn't. Now, you are a single mom. And how did you juggle being a single mom, having a job? A lot of women go through this. Tell us some of the things that you did just to keep yourself sane and to keep yourself going.
I felt it's so interesting because, now I'm married and have a partner, and I didn't notice the difference. When you don't have it for a long time, that's what's normal, right? So for me, when I was a single mom, really building my career, I felt fortunate that I I kind of just did what I needed to do. So here's how I explain it to other mothers. It's like, look, the company can't create a policy for that's going to like solve everybody's needs. So what I did was, I was like, look, I'm going to coach the basketball team and I'm going to go to the school plays, but I'm also going to get my work done. So I, kind of made it work around my life. It's funny to say that today in today's world, kind of post COVID, where we all, work got and life got really integrated and it's a little bit more normal today. I think for me, I had to kind of force that to happen when it was a little bit less normal and less understood. But it was like, I'm going to leave the office and go to the school to do the thing. But if I need to log back on at 7 or 8 p.m., I'm going to do that and make sure that I'm delivering on my commitments at work too. And so I think it was being really, communicating well so people knew what to expect, delivering on commitments, and then, not being willing to compromise kind of my values. Now, that doesn't mean there were never tension points, for sure. I mean, I can remember, the daycare would be like, if you're going to be 1 minute late, it's $1 for every minute after 6 p.m. and you're in a meeting that's not ending till 6 p.m. like that. I remember those pressures and that those realities happen. But I think generally it's about just, kind of finding a way to squeeze it in. That one of the lessons, though, if you'll let me share, is like something compromises. And for me, a lot of times it was myself, right? I wasn't going to the gym. I wasn't really taking care of myself as much as I should have, because it was like children and my child and work. And that was priority. And so learning how to, now, I think that's one of my big learnings in the last 5 years. It's just been not being willing to give that my own personal time away as freely. If that makes
That's
sense.
really important. That's really crucial. Now, I know that you do many things. Tell us first, what is Gig Talent? What is the business about?
So we represent about 100 HR consultants and leadership coaches across the US. And when I talk about HR consultants, we do all kinds of things, a lot of organizational development, leadership training and coaching. We have experts in every function of HR. So whether it's compensation, performance management, a lot of change management, project management, strategy, fractional and interim HR. So we have professionals really across the board, and we partner with our clients at whatever stage their business is. It can be, to outsource their HR. It can be to be a strategic advisor. It can be for a system implementation or other kind of project, building out learning and development programs, org design, really all the things people. So we become that people partner to either augment their internal team if they have one, or if they don't have one, we can be their HR partner. Coaching has also been a really significant area of growth in organizations, because leaders are at all different stages of their own leadership effectiveness and leadership journey. So our coaches are top notch, and we do both individual coaching, team coaching, and really help organizations build effective cultures that help them deliver on their business strategic objectives.
Fantastic. Now, from being a co-founder of Gig Talent to serving as an associate professor at the University of South California, your journey has been diverse and impactful. Can you share a brief overview of how your passion for empowering individuals to do the work they love began? Where did that all come from?
I can specifically remember I was working for a Fortune 50 company. I was at a director level, one of my first director level roles, and sitting in this big corner office looking outside. And I just felt disconnected to it. I loved my job. I loved my family and my friends. And yet I felt kind of disconnected from my life. And as it was 2009, I can specifically remember it. And when I think back, that was when I started this journey of kind of working on myself and recognizing the role that fear had been playing in my life and some of the decisions that I was making. And as I recognized that for myself, I just became really committed to helping others potentially recognize the role that fear might be playing in their life, and what they can do to remove those perceived barriers to finding happiness and joy. And and then in 2016, when my father passed away, you have these moments in your life where you recognize that life is short. And I think it just helps you kind of reassess and decide how you want to spend time. And so to your point, with students at USC or people that I'm helping along their journey, whether it's professionally or HR or personally, those are kind of the fundamental values that I hope everyone recognizes in their own life.
Now, your award-winning book on designing exceptional organizational cultures is a testament to your expertise. How do you integrate principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion when creating these impactful cultures?
I love this question. So organizations today are DEI and B and whatever other letters we want to throw in there has been buzzwords for the last few years. But I know that if we want to have an effective organizational culture and an effective business, we have to have everybody at work being able to contribute their best to what we're trying to do together. And so when I think about inclusion, to me today, that is a fundamental thing of leadership. It's not a separate category. It's not a check the box. It's really about how are we creating, teams and organizational systems where people can come and do their best. And some of that is really helping leaders evolve our skills to accommodate different kinds of contributors, different styles of thinking, different styles of communicating. Do people need to process information? Are they going to be able to make decisions right in the meeting, or do they, need a little bit of time to think about it? And it's not because they're slow, right? It's not because they just don't speak up. People really are different and they all have strengths. And I think as organizations recognize, we need to, create environments that really allow us to engage with everyone in the best way they can. And that means diversity in, all kinds of backgrounds, of course, and experience and ways of thinking. We don't all want to be the same. I've seen it happen where we're going to make much better decisions as a collective if we have strong diversity and inclusion and people feel like they can contribute than if we don't. There's just no question about it.
I love that. So in your experience in building high-performing teams, what are the most common obstacles that companies face in truly embracing and benefiting from a diverse workforce? And how do you advise them to overcome these challenges?
I think like anything else, when we overplay strengths, we sometimes have kind of the dark side of those strengths. And we have to be willing to kind of take a look at those and look what might be in kind of our unknown bucket, right? If you're looking in the Johari window, right? What's that unknown to us? And so I think that we have to be willing to look at our culture and see what's still serving us, what's not, and how we might need to adjust. So I think that it's an awareness. And even if you have a really strong culture, look at the pace of change, internal to your organization, within the broader workforce, in the economy, globally, all kinds of things. We have to be willing to adjust. And so I think the biggest thing is to be willing to create a practice around reflecting on where are there tensions in our organization? Where are we maybe all kind of saying the same thing? It's like if, even a strong culture can be sometimes too, the plus side is that it might feel good. The downside might be that we're not benefiting from diverse thinking and diverse perspectives and those kinds of things. So we have to be sure that we're kind of checking ourselves. And sometimes that means having, an external lens to help us through that process because we're too close to it to see it sometimes.
So as a professor at the university, what are the core principles or teachings that you would emphasize on to mold the next generation of inclusive leaders?
This is so fun because we talk about it all the time. I think listening, self-awareness is number one, right? We assume that leaders or people who rise into positions of leadership have done a lot of professional and personal development on themselves. And that is dangerous to make that assumption. There's a lot of leaders who have rose quickly or in different circumstances that may have never really had someone invest in them or the opportunity to invest in themselves to do that work. So I think self-development, number one, is a fundamental to being able to be an effective leader for others. Listening skills, things are changing and assumptions or like the way that we would used to take information and be able to make assumptions based on our prior experiences. If we're doing that today, that can be a risky scenario because the playing field has shifted. And so people have to, I think leaders, we all have to be willing to kind of reassess. So listening and being able to ask powerful questions, that can be a game changer for effective leadership. So with the students, there's a whole class, this is a Master's of Human Resources program. These master's level students, there's a whole class on just leadership. It's called Leadership in Human Resources, but it's leadership of themselves. So it's assessment, it's understanding their conflict style and their communication style. And I think if every leader could do that self-work first, they're going to be way more effective in engaging with others.
I love that. So one of the things that I noticed from your profile is that you're also part of an advisory board member at Accent Funding. What lessons or insights have you gained about diversity in the financial sector? And how have these informed your approach to HR consulting?
So Ascent is a really amazing organization, and they specialize in student loans, and they are really innovating in that space and coming up with solutions for people who traditionally wouldn't have access to funding for education or continuing development purposes. And so I find it really inspirational to be thinking outside the box and to be looking at how to really create solutions broader than kind of just what your competitive set is doing. Ascent is an organization and their leadership team that they're not waiting to copy kind of their competitive landscape. They are setting the tone. They're actually like, why couldn't we come up with this? And so that innovation is super inspiring. And what I take with that as I think about consulting with other organizations is really to push for that. Like, quite frankly, it's confidence and it's courage to innovate. And when you're thinking about like financial assets, right? I mean, getting people to actually believe you, they have strong data. It's founded in great information, and they leverage that data and they tell the story, and they've proven over time. But when you think about other organizations, whether it's in financial services or other industries, that those competencies of innovation, courage, being willing to take risks, but also having data to back it up. I mean, that's what we want to see, and those are the organizations that succeed.
I love that. So as we look forward to the future, what's your vision for a world where every individual can achieve their full potential, regardless of background? And how can companies play a proactive role in making this vision a reality?
That's so awesome. I think that the hope is that everyone sees their own potential and a path to reach it, right? And so when you ask that question, I think of a few things. I think about our opportunities for all of us to be mentors and someone who reaches out our hand for people who are wanting to come up in their careers. I think, you asked specifically about what can organizations do. I think thinking, we talk a lot about like democratizing leadership. It's not that you want the top 15 people in your organization to be trained in leadership. We want everyone, even if you're not leading a team, to be thinking like a leader, right? And to be self-empowered in driving your life, right? And so I think that the more that we can really reach youth and early career people and help them develop those skills for themselves and their confidence to even think about, one of the things I was a big aha for me is sometimes, there's real realities in life. I already shared, I was a single mom for a long time. I had financial responsibility. There was a lot of debt, all kinds of things, realities that you're dealing with. But sometimes one of the biggest things that is our own barrier is what we can imagine for ourselves. So if we can help others see beyond, maybe what we've been exposed to or what we can imagine for ourselves, and then, really just support them in finding their own path to get there. I think that's some of the biggest impact we can have at a one-on-one level or an organizational level.
I love that. Now, let's have a little thought experiment. And we're going to teleport you to your past, to that young woman who was going through a struggle, just trying to get her life together. Based on what life has taught you, what 3 nuggets of wisdom could you share? What would you have wanted somebody to say to you to get you through that period in your life? Just in case there's a young woman who's listening to this podcast, or a young man, 3 nuggets of wisdom to your younger self.
I think number one, it's, recognizing the amount of choice that we have in our life. Sometimes we feel like we're in situations or scenarios and we don't have choice. And we do. So, number one, that for sure. And I, like I said, I felt like I had to do, stay in a safe career, do these things because the reality was I needed income, and I felt that was providing security. And I'm not saying that was a wrong decision, but that's a choice, right? And there's lots of ways to earn money. And so recognizing the element of choice in your life is number one. Number two, fear. Fear is a thing. We all have it. It keeps us safe. It allows us to run away from people, dangerous animals that want to attack us when we were, a million years ago. But I think we still operate from fear a lot of times. And fear is a healthy thing, but it also can prevent us from making good decisions for ourselves. So starting to understand where fear plays a role in your life, and then being willing to do things anyway, even though you might be scared. I think that's number two as far as a nugget. And then the 3 is that you can do it. I talk a lot when we were writing the book. I was like, gosh, who am I to write a book? I mean, who wants to read what I'm reading? And then I was meeting all these other authors, and I'm like, well, they're awesome. And I really admire them because they did it, but they're not really any different than you or me. And so when you think about that person that you admire that started a company, or, it had some really good idea, or did something that you are a little bit afraid to do or nervous to do, just know that you are as equal and qualified and competent and capable to do it. Just do it.
I love that. That's a good slogan for life. Just do it.
Right.
Now we're going to move in the opposite direction, and I'm going to teleport you into the future. You're now 90 years old. And if I teleport you into the future right now, and you can have a conversation with the 90-year-old you, she's sitting on her porch, surrounded by her children, her grandchildren, her dogs, her cats. What would you say to this wise woman who's led you to that point, based on how you're living your life right now?
I think it's just about recognizing the some of the biggest riches in life are really the people around you. I am really grateful that most of my friends, I've met kind of professionally in one capacity or another, but they're long-term friends and family, of course. So I think at the end of the day, it's not about the things or the home or material things. It's really that richness and the quality of our relationships and that way that we've been able to impact other people. So I hope that when I'm 90, the decisions that I'm making now around living with integrity, investing in community, both with time and in other means, really building those authentic relationships. That's, I hope that when I look back at my life, those continue to be the things that brought me joy and contributed to a legacy that I'll leave behind.
Wonderful. That is just awesome. Jamie, thank you so much for coming online today and gracing us with your presence, your knowledge. It's a real honor to have met you. And thank you to everybody who's tuned in today. The Diversity Connector is trying to bring people from all walks of life to share their knowledge, their life experiences. So tune in again tomorrow when I interview another amazing person. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And bye for now. And that's a wrap, everybody, on today's episode of the Diversity Connector podcast. Thank you for tuning in and being part of our vibrant and global conversation. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a tapestry of diverse perspectives. Remember, every story you've heard today is a thread in the larger fabric of our shared humanity. So, as you step back into your world, carry these stories with you and let them inspire you to embrace and celebrate the rich diversity around us. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these inspiring stories with more listeners. Do follow us on social media by looking for the Diversity Connector podcast for more updates. Until then, keep connecting, keep listening, and keep celebrating the beauty of diversity. This is the Diversity Connector podcast signing off. Stay curious, stay open, and definitely